Entertainment Soldier here, and I am back to talk about Secret Invasion Season 1, Episode 4, and my thoughts on this episode. This is the worst episode of the season so far for me. I did not like it. A lot of problems. One being, well, it's got to be Taz and his plan to retake control of his people, or at least to regain the leadership. I mean, this guy's plan is so stupid. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This guy pretty much wants to do the same thing that has put him in this position in the first place. You know, the position where your people have lost so much trust in you, they've turned to a radical to, get them to their homeland. And your idea to take back control is to basically do the exact same thing. It is the dumbest fucking plan. It's just a dumb fucking plan. And there was a moment in this episode, there really was. There was a moment where I kind of thought this episode could be the best if they go through with one thing. And it's to do with Fury. But unfortunately, they didn't. So, yeah. Again, if they had just done that one thing, I would have said, they have done major damage to Fury, but they're bringing him back. But they didn't do it. They cucked out. Because, well, if they were to do what they should have done, you might get a little bit of backlash from the woke crowd. It's just dumb. This is supposed to be... Fury is supposed to be a cutthroat spy. And in this, he doesn't feel like that. He feels like an old man walking around, doing jack shit most of the fucking time. He doesn't feel threatening. This doesn't feel like the Fury from the Avengers, from Winter Soldier. That Fury, you could tell, you don't mess with that motherfucker because he will kill you. In this, I couldn't care less. Like, you've done so much damage to Fury in this show already. This one thing that you could have done at least would have showed Fury has balls and he's willing to do what it takes to, defeat the Skrull. But he didn't, and it's stupid. God, and the story itself, this episode, it just wasn't smart. And it was just ridiculous. I'll go into the spoiler section, but it was just very disappointing. That was the big plan. And by the way, the Russians led by a black guy. My God, do you know? Oh, it's just so dumb. He can change his face. What? You got to make it believable. Okay? And that was just not believable. Especially when you're trying to frame a country with a blatant fucking, obviously this guy is not working with the Russians. It's just so fucking stupid. God. And someone's going to say, oh, that's racist. I'm not being racist. I'm being factual. Russia's literally 100% white. Or at least white with some Asians. Okay? You can't just have a Russian force led by a fucking mixed race guy. It makes no sense. I'm sorry Russia didn't go fucking nuts and then invite everybody into their country. I'm sorry. That's not my fault. That's just fact. So if you're going to call me a racist for pointing out a fact, then fuck you. You're trying to make a story about intelligence. You're trying to make a Cold War kind of story. And to do that, you have to be factual. Again, this guy can change his face. Why can't I? Oh, it's just so fucking stupid. God. I'll get into that in the spoiler section, but it's just so fucking stupid. So, what would I give this episode out of 10? 2. It's a 2 points, mate. Yes, there was an action scene. Good. Boo. What the fuck? Who cares? I don't care. So what? The damn CGI was shit. The gunfight was shit. There were soldiers that were acting like morons. Jesus. I couldn't care less. Okay, this was a bad episode. So, let's just get into spoilers now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So, this episode starts off with Gaia on the ground from the shot from Gravik. And she, as I said last week, we all knew Gaia was not dead. She was obviously going to survive the shot, and she did. Now, how did she survive the shot? Well, it turns out she went into the sphere thing in the Skree's base, and she has, been given powers. Basically, all of the Avengers' powers are now in Gaia. So, yeah, that's basically what Gravik's plan is, to make all the Skree the Avengers, so that they can win and take over the planet and then, defeat any enemy after that. So, she's able to survive the bullet because she can heal fast. I think that's supposed to be Captain Marvel's power she was using, but I'm not really too sure. But she survives the shot and then runs to find her dad. Then we go through the title scene, and then we go to the next scene, which is in 2012, where Fury's in Paris, meeting up with his wife, where they're talking about, basically, poems and shit. And Fury and her have a very good discussion, I don't fucking know. And she starts talking about poems she likes, where she wants to be called darling or lover or something. And then we go back to the present, where we're in a church and Fury's wife is meeting up with Rhodey. And Rhodey is a Skree. So he's a Skrull inside the American government, and is telling Fury's wife that she needs to kill Fury to prove her loyalty to Gravik. She's trying to persuade the fake Rhodey to not kill Fury, basically. She doesn't want to kill him, she loves him, but Rhodey doesn't give a shit. He wants him dead, and because he's still apparently too much of a threat to Gravik. So Rhodey's pretty much... He also starts bragging about firing Fury, which kind of just felt really fucking childish. It really does. I mean, I don't care, Rhodey, or fake Rhodey, that you're so happy you fired fucking Fury. It's like, that's like such a sad fucking position to be. It's something to say. It's like, oh, I fired Fury. It's like, who gives a shit? Oh yeah, firing Fury's literally made sure he's not a danger to you now, is it? It's like so stupid. So yeah, Rhodey pretty much tells Fury's wife, do as you're told and kill Fury, or we'll pretty much be coming after you. Now I know some people are going to be pissed off that I don't know Fury's wife's name. Listen, I don't care. Okay, that's what she is. She's Fury's fucking wife. She's a Skrull. I didn't catch the name. I don't care. So, she's left at the church with the whole choir singing, and Brody's just like, enjoy the song, but when you're done, go kill Fury, basically. So we go to the next scene. Oh, I forgot. Fury's also listening to the conversation, because I think he put a bug on his wife. So he now knows that Rhodey is a Skrull. By the way, we find out in the middle of this episode, he's not just a Skrull, he's a female Skrull. I don't know why it could have been a man doing it, but there you go. It's a woman pretending to be Rhodey. I know it just seems a bit funny to me with all that shit going on, but that just seems weird. Why not a male do it? Anyway. So, yeah. Fury's listening in, and he now knows about Rhodey being the one in the American government who is a Skrull. So the next scene is Tulsa talking to Gaia, about, everything. He's saying he's sorry what happened to her. He wishes he didn't let her go. He's happy that she's now in the fight with him. And Gaia pretty much says to him, I want to be on your side, but what's your fucking plan? Because if we're going to go up against Gravik, we need to have a plan. There needs to be something for our people to join. Because if you're just going there with no plan, why are they going to follow you and not Gravik? And what is Tulsa's plan to get the people back on side and out of the hands of the Radical? Oh, this is his plan. We're going to do the exact same thing we've been doing for, 20 or 30 years. Yeah, we're going to keep spying on the world for Fury, or actually now we'll do it for the president, and we're going to show how good we are by stopping the terrorist attacks and all that shit. Basically, everything they've been doing already, his plan is to do it all just for the president, to show the president that they're trustworthy and they deserve to be allowed to stay on planet Earth where it's safe. That's his plan. There's almost like hundreds of planets out there the Skrull could go to. It's kind of really weird they're so focused on Earth. Like, there are a bunch of planets you could go to. And if you can't go to any of those planets, there's a fucking moon up there that's empty. Or Mars, for fuck's sake. Like, you can't just do this shit where the Skrull are just going for Earth because it's got, infrastructure and shit. They have ships. They have technology. Mars is there. The moon is there. It's kind of getting now ridiculous when you realise that. It's like this war is kind of pointless when Skrull have somewhere to go, but they just want to be on Earth, which is really fucking weird. But anyway, how the hell are you going to win over your people if your plan is shit? And basically the reason your people have turned on you. So yeah, he's a fucking moron. And Gaia pretty much says that to him himself. He's like, I want to fight with you, Dad, but your plan is shit. And so she walks off, and Talos is like, shit, maybe I have, maybe I've got to make a better plan than just do what we've been doing for 30 years. Fucking, this story could be better. They just really need to come up with better plans and stuff, and to stop making characters look fucking stupid. So the next scene, which is the worst scene in my opinion, Fury's wife gets home, realises that Fury hasn't put his ring on from the pot on the shelf, then sees Fury making, I think, a cup of tea, and he says, I forgot to put my ring on. They sit round the table talking to each other, and Fury asks about why she chose the face that she uses. It turns out she found this woman in a hospital who had cancer or something, and she didn't have long left, and so she asked if she could use her face, and the woman's, whose real face that is, agreed, but on three conditions. One, she still be a daughter to her parents. Two, what else? There was something else. I can't really remember what it was. I think it was something to do with adventure or something. But the third one, which was the most important one, find love and never hurt Fury, basically. So now that she's been ordered to kill Fury, and by the way, Fury pretty much has realised, again, I thought this scene was actually interesting, because Fury pretty much says to his wife, I know you've been sent here to kill me, we need to sort this out. Was this marriage ever real, or were you using me, or whatever? And so Fury pulls out a pistol, so does his wife, and Fury pretty much tells her, I know about the pistol that you've had locked up. And she pulls out her pistol, they both put it on the table, and then they point it at each other, and then boom, they both shoot. Now, a part of me was thinking, they've finally done it. They've finally given Fury some strength back. They suddenly said, yes, Fury is he is a cutthroat spy who's going to do anything to save the Earth, even sacrifice his wife. I believed that for about 2 seconds before I was like, yeah, they both missed each other. It was so fucking obvious what was going to happen. And there it is. Both Fury and his wife missed each other. And so Fury tries to make this stupid joke, should we get a divorce? Should we renew our vows? And then he just goes over to kiss his wife, and she says, if I was my true self, I'm really hating that fucking word, man. That fucking sentence, true self. Shut up. But if I was my true self, would you still love me? Would you have married me? Blah, 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 blah. And Fury, and I'll give the episode a bit of credit here, he doesn't just say yes, he says, we'll never know, and walks out the door. And again, I give the episode a little bit of credit here. Because you could have just had Fury says, I would have loved you in any skin, and it would have been a kind of crappy, pussy moment, in my opinion. But having Fury at least admit that maybe it would never have worked, maybe I would never have been able to look past the green skin and everything. At least it's honest. So I'll give it credit for that. So the next scene, we are shown the Skrull who's pretending to be Rhodey, and it's a female Skrull who's having a shower. Then she gets out of the shower and she kind of hears a noise in the apartment, changes back into Rhodey, and it's Fury with some scotch made by his ancestors, I think. And he's drinking it, they're having a conversation about being black, basically. And he offers him a drink. He tries to ask, is it poison? Fury says no. And basically this is just them two pretty much both realising that Fury knows that he's a Skrull. She's whatever the fuck. That he's a Skrull. And he is a spy in the American government. And when the Skrull pretty much says, well, you're not going to do anything about it because I've got footage of you killing Hills, and if you do not back off, I'll release that and you'll be on the run from the United States government. I don't know why you just don't release that, because then Fury would have to be dealing with the Americans coming after him. Like, what's the point? Like, what is the point here? Like, you're a Skrull, kill Fury. You want Fury dead. He's there in front of you. Shoot him. Break his neck. I don't know. The person you're scared of, the person who could actually defeat you on Earth, he's right there. Rhodey, fake Rhodey, just kill him. Oh, it's so stupid. And to not release the film and have Fury worrying about his own government, that just seems dumb. So, Fury says that he knows. Rhodey tells him about the tape. He says he will release it if he doesn't back off. So Fury just leaves. And then the next scene, it turns out that Fury put something in the scotch that's liquid, a liquid tracking device. And Rhodey is also meeting up with the president. Also, Rhodey did say in the meeting that the president's stupid and just does what Rhodey tells him to do. I mean, I don't think that's how politics works, but then you see the American president these days, it's kind of like, maybe that is true. Maybe it is true. So, yeah. So, he meets the president who's come to UK to have a meeting with the Russians to pretty much stop a war from happening. And then Rhodey starts to act really strange and says, what we need to do is be really hard on the Russians, because if we're too soft, the Russians will see weakness. Again, the presidents come all this way to talk about peace, not war. And you have Rhodey trying to push him in a direction that the president, I think, realises, like, dude, if I do that, the Russians might actually start a war with us, and we might be in World War III with nuclear bombs. So it kind of just seemed a bit ridiculous to have Rhodey continuously pushing the president to be a twat to the Russians. Again, trying to stop a nuclear war, and this one guy is being a dick. Oh, and also the president smells alcohol on Rhodey's breath, so he's kind of like, make sure Rhodey has a drink of coffee to sober him up a bit. because he's talking insane. So the president gets into his car, which, never mind. He gets into his car, the convoy heads off out of the airport. Must be the weirdest airport I've ever seen, because it's really bare. Like, nothing's there. And when the president comes to the UK, well, I couldn't say. When he comes to a British army base, you only see like 2 British soldiers there. It's kind of a bit ridiculous. But anyway, they drive out of the gates. Fury's also there. He's driving up to keep an eye on Rhodey. It turns out Garrick's plan to start a war with the Russians, he's now going to try to fit up the Russians on an assassination attempt on the president. So Garrick sends a bunch of Skrull Russians to attack the president's convoy. They bomb a couple of the president's cars, and then you see Garrick leading a force of Russians. Listen, Russia has no mixed race people. It is going to be hard for you to implicate the Russians on an assassination attempt when there's an obvious person who's obviously not Russian. All the guy needs to do is change it to a white bloke, and then you can have him in that scene. Having a mixed race person lead a Russian attack force, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because the Americans would see that's a bit odd for a Russian force to be led by someone who's not Russian, because they would obviously see that. It's dumb. You're trying to bloody say this is a Russian attack on the president. By the way, terrible CGI on the helicopters. They looked absolutely fake. It was ridiculous. The CGI is just terrible in this episode. And again, people are going to say, oh, you're being racist. I'm not being racist. I'm being factual. Have you met Russians? They're not exactly a diverse people. Unless you're talking about the Asian part of the fucking Russian Federation. So, oh God, it's just so dumb. A blatant flaw in your plan, Garrick, is you. And all you had to do was just change into a different person and lead the attack. You want Garrick to lead the attack? Fine. Just with a different face. Would make more sense. Oh, and by the way, in this attack, you see American, I think, secret intelligence or whatever the hell they're called, around the president's car, not taking cover, not doing anything. They're literally standing in the middle of the road, letting themselves get shot. Nobody's taking cover. Nobody's just really weird. You don't do that in that type of situation. You go into defense mode and you make sure you cut off points to the president. You don't just stand in the middle of the road firing at the enemy because you're an open fucking target. Jesus. And so the attack's going on. One of the president's vehicles is equipped with anti-air rockets, knocks out one of the helicopters. Fury realises the president's convoy is under attack and he races over there to help the president. And one of the helicopters knocked out, but the second helicopter destroys the anti-air truck. And then Fury arrives, uses some weapon to take out the other helicopter. Now, Fury's on the scene, on his own with just Tulls. And Garrick doesn't deal with him. He tries to still do the attack against the president. Fury is there. You want Fury dead. He's right fucking there. So why are you not sending all your forces to deal with him? Again, the biggest threat you have, and you're just not dealing with him. Fucking hell. So Garrick then shows his new abilities, which was the Groot tree stuff coming out of him, grabbing an American Secret Service person and killing him, and pretty much showing Fury, yes, he's pretty much got new powers now. So Fury, you're trying to call the Avengers now. because you're literally seeing a massive. Well, they're literally got powers now. How about get people who can actually fight them? It's so ridiculous. Oh, but at this same moment, the British arrive in the worst Special Forces uniforms for the SAS I've ever seen, with massive Union Jacks on their chest. What? Now, if somebody says, oh, you just don't like the flag. No, I'm talking about British British Special Forces would never have something that ridiculous on their front. They'll have it on the patch on the side. Because guess what, dumbass? Putting a bloody massive flag is going to make it harder for soldiers to fucking... Oh, it just looks so ridiculous and fake. That's not what British Special Forces wear. Oh, bloody hell. Again, you can have the Union Jack on SAS on the side. Not ridiculous. And again, it's a ridiculous shape on the uniform. It's like so big. It's weird. Are you just trying to make sure we understand that these are British Special Forces? Most people are not children. They can tell that these are British Special Forces, mainly because they keep talking in British accents. Do you think your audience is so fucking retarded they can't tell that? You need to put a massive flag on them? So the British SAS arrive in new Range Rovers, pretty much stopping the Skrulls from getting to the president. Fury and Tulls get to the president's limousine, and Tulls starts trying to break the door's mirror so he can get to the president, but then Gravik tells his Irish dude Skrull to shoot Tulls. He does. Really seriously, Tulls then starts to revert back to being a Skrull and not being able to keep his he can't keep his human form, so he goes back to his Skrull form. But Skrull and Tulls keeps hitting the door, and it eventually breaks. One of the British SAS see Tulls turning into an alien, points his rifle at him, but Fury protects Tulls and says he's on our side, and this British SAS person just says, okay, and then goes back to fighting. I mean, you could have done a little bit more with that. Again, they're being attacked by Russians, and aliens just appeared, and this British soldier is just like, oh, you just said it's okay. Okay, I'll just go back to fighting. So this soldier seems a bit weird. So they get the president out of the limousine. Fury takes him to his car, which is a souped-up old Range Rover. And whilst Tulls is getting taken by the SAS soldier, Fury pretty much realises it's Gravik and shoots the SAS soldier. It's shown to be Gravik. He shoots him a couple of more times, but Gravik has now got the Avengers powers, and Fury tries to shoot him in the head. It doesn't work. And then Gravik kills Tulls and then escapes on a bike through about 20 soldiers who don't turn around to shoot the bike, shoot the guy on the bike, or shoot at Gravik. They just let him drive off in the middle of them. You even see in the scenes that they hesitate to fire when they drive past. It's so fucking ridiculous. And apparently Tulls is now dead. But unfortunately, this is Marvel. This is Secret Invasion, and we already seen Gaia survive a gunshot. Why not Tulls? But I kind of think he is dead, because I don't think they want a male taking over the Skrulls' leadership. I think we all know where that's going. It's going to Gaia. So she's going to be the new general in charge of the Skrull people, because we all know women are the best to be in charge. Again, I know, I get it, okay? And I have nothing wrong with them putting Gaia as the leader, but you know it's forced. You know it is. Again, if this was a better story showing that Gaia was earning that right instead of just being thrown it, I mean, I'm hoping they show that in the last 2 episodes, because again, we only have 2 episodes left before this show is over. But as long as they show me she's earned it and isn't just thrown the fucking job title, I will give it praise. And so the episode ends with the President in Fury's car, and Gravik escaping, and Tulse dead. And that's the end of the episode. It's a bad episode. I didn't like most of it. I think, again, if you did some rewrites, if you showed Fury as a cutthroat spy instead of a bitch, maybe this episode could have been good. But there you go. So, a 2 out of 10, not great, and we are at the last 2 episodes of the season. So, those 2 episodes better be fantastic. Otherwise, this show is just dead. And that's the review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. And if you have a comment, leave it below, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Editable Soldier. Bye.